Alright, in this video I'll show you how to change your front brakes on this 2017 Corolla IM. So first things first, we're going to jack up the car and put it on jack stands. We're going to go ahead and take off the wheel. These are 21. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take off the two bolts for the caliper guide pins. These are 14. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and push back the caliper piston. So just use one of the old brake pads. Okay, make sure the piston is sitting flush with the boot. Sometimes you'll get air pockets like these. So use a pick and we're just going to push down like this so it sits flush all the way. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take off the caliper bracket bolts. These are 17. Okay, now that we're removed the caliper bracket, let's go ahead and take off the rotor. Usually on the Corollas they usually come out easy, but if they're stuck we're going to use a sledgehammer and hammer on the bottom here. Okay, before we put on the new rotor, let's clean this hub surface and then put some anti-seize. Okay, now we could put on the rotor. Okay, since these rotors don't have screws to hold it down, so we're just going to use one of the lug nuts. Okay, let's go ahead and clean off the guide pins and put some new grease. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take off the old hardware, and then we're going to go ahead and clean behind them, put some anti-seize so the new hardware could fit nice and snug. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and clean this up using a wire brush, and then we're going to go through it with a file. Okay, after you're done, it should look like this. Make sure you just you get the most out of the rust out. Okay, now we're going to put some anti-seize. And we're going to on this side. Okay, now we're going to put on the new clips. Okay, so you want these notches here to face outwards. You don't want them to face in towards the caliper bracket, like this. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and put on the new pads, but first we're gonna put some anti-seize on the ears here. Okay, at the end it should look like this. Make sure the pads sit all the way back so you could have enough room to put it on the new rotor, like this. It's easier if you put both pads on the caliper bracket first and then put them on the knuckle instead of vice versa, because it's hard to get the inner pad when the bracket is on the car. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put on the bracket. Okay, now we're going to tighten down both caliper bracket bolts. Okay, now we're just going to put some anti-seize behind the pads. Now we could go ahead and put back the caliper. And we could tighten the two 14 mil. Okay, now we're all done. Make sure everything is all tight. Caliper bracket, and then we're going to go ahead and put on the wheel. Okay, now that we're all done, make sure you, when you finish both sides, pump the brake pedal before you go on a ride, and that's it. See you guys in the next one.